Welcome to a special edition of Speaking of Sasquatch. We are reporting from Ontario, Canada, where for the past 2 years, Mike Patterson and his colleague, the owner of this property who wishes to remain anonymous, have had a spirited interaction with a family of Sasquatch whose presence on this land apparently predates the owner's family's arrival here some 35 years ago. This is the first time that Mike Patterson has appeared on camera to discuss his walk with the Sasquatch, and we're very privileged to be able to bring it to you.
When I first started, there was an incident, basically the first night I was here. I knew they had activity going on the very first night. I think it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I went walking down the road. I went to cut into the forest and I saw this, I think it was one eye, possibly peeking out from behind a tree, but it was bright orange. I had turned around and walked right back to the cottage and, I wasn't that schooled on it. I wasn't that up to date and too well aware of the strange aspect that comes with Sasquatch activity. They could have been, caveman still living for all I knew. I had no idea. Right? It was a matter of keeping an open mind. At the beginning, didn't know their name. We used to call Nefertia Mr. Funny at first, before we knew his name. His sense of humor. He's a very funny guy, right? He's always they show a lot of humor. They're very playful by nature. Finally, after, I forget how long it was, but a certain period of time, there was one visit. We listened back in the audio. He states the owner's name, my name, and then says Nefertia twice. So I was ecstatic. It was the first time he finally said his name.
During the course of our 3-day visit to the location, we witnessed firsthand nearly all of the phenomena that have been described in the past by Sasquatch Ontario. These include abundant sign, such as built structures, handprints, skillfully crafted stick figures and simple drawings, and most abundantly, marbles, which are thrown with great accuracy and land strategically. Mike and his colleague have amassed a collection of hundreds of such marbles, while this filmmaker, during the course of just 3 days, was gifted with about, at this point, maybe 20 of them, one of which, we note, showed up indoors at a precise moment that seemed to comment on a discussion of hyperdimensional physics that was taking place at the time.
The very first time they left sign on my car, it was this little plastic piece of a kid's toy, which I showed you. I'd walked up, or come out of the cottage, walked towards my car, and there, sitting on the passenger, is this little white plastic, it's like a little ice cream cone top from a kid's toy. And I remember my jaw just hit the ground, because I knew, there was nobody around. I knew that was the Sasquatch, that, this was the first piece of sign that they had left me. And from that, it's continued with, as many people know, they've used marbles as sign, and we've literally collected hundreds of them, as well as these little silk flowers. And there's one thing Sasquatch are big on is leaving sign of their presence. They tend to give you what you're looking for. The handprints on my car, marks on my car. You've seen that too. We ended up with a handprint on my vehicle and some more marks last night. I'll walk up to my vehicle and I'll put my hand on it. And next thing I know, they're marking the vehicle. It's that whole intent thing, and we've actually collected a lot of evidence that way. With footprints and marks in the vehicle, drawings, pictures. It all has come from intent. This is something. Yeah, we ended up with some rainfall yesterday, and I brought you around, showed you the print on the car, how the oil on their skin, how it beaded on the vehicle. They've given us quite a few drawings. They tend to always, for the most part, show a connection of lines to everything. They've started kind of drawing little depictions of themselves, which is pretty funny. This is a fairly recent drawing. This one's got a little smiley face on it with a flower. I have no idea what this is here. They've incorporated my glyph into the flower. Just a shape, an object I've used to identify myself. Something not difficult. That was done previous. I'd left it just on the page. That was kind of by itself.
So you started it with that small piece?
Well, they had done that.
Oh, okay.
I just left it in the sketch pad, and eventually they drew on the page again. This is my collection of hand-woven gifts that the Sasquatch have given me over the last 2 years. This is the first one they made, and you know they're pretty intricate in their weavings, and there's a difference between the ones the owner gets and the ones I've received. You can tell some of the ones that he's gotten are a lot more intricate, and you know, they have marbles inside them, and you could tell it's from a much more experienced individual. This one here, it was anatomically correct, and I'd had an accident and snapped a piece off of it, which, you know, I was a little upset about, and I'd hoped that I hadn't upset them, and I'd wondered if they were ever going to give me another one anatomically correct. And that obviously, you know, looks like a person, arms and head and legs. They showed me one day that no, they weren't upset. They gave me another one, and this one's anatomically correct. So this one's not preserved. That's just natural.
And to preserve them, you use like a varnish?
Yeah, which it's worked well. I remember I had drawn a depiction of them and a stick figure of myself, and in that first drawing, there was a line drawn from the genitals of what I depicted as myself to the Sasquatch.
Yeah, and it certainly would support the idea that one of their objectives is to reinforce our sense of connection to the Earth and to objects of the Earth and to other beings on the Earth. That definitely comes through, I think.
Yeah, it seems they're, just possibly trying to wake us up, something we've forgotten.
Was the development of the drawings something that came after the stick figures?
We just kind of started, we would try little different experiments with them. I think one of the first things was I bought a whiteboard, which wasn't the smartest thing because it just rubs out easy, right?
A dry erase board.
Yeah, dry erase board.
To this filmmaker, one of the most compelling aspects of visiting with Mike and his colleague was a first-hand encounter with the phenomenon of so-called imposed images that apparently result from Sasquatch consciousness utilizing their intention coupled with the intention of the receiving consciousness to produce photographs. And they're like nothing we've ever seen before. They appear to be beautifully crafted glimpses into other layers of the multidimensional reality in which we and the Sasquatch both live, even if we see and experience that reality very differently than the Sasquatch. This burst of raw image files was apparently captured by the camera on its normal SD memory card over the course of 1 minute or less, judging by the timestamps on the image files. The camera was switched off with the lens cap in place over the lens when I left the device on the table, alongside the cameras that Mike and his colleagues normally leave on the table for this purpose. There was no sign of the camera having been physically handled at the time that I discovered the images. These photographs appear to follow the tradition of non-optical exposure that was demonstrated by Uri Geller in the 1970s as part of controlled experiments at the Stanford Research Institute. This photograph was published in the book The Geller Papers, courtesy of Lawrence Freed. As you can see, Geller made the exposure by concentrating on doing so, even though the camera was fully taped up, and the film that it was loaded with originated from a reliable third party and hadn't been tampered with. The results were this image. This type of non-optical exposure was also demonstrated by the skull experiment, and they have examples of it, extensive examples of it on their website. Some of them are historical.
There's enough of us that know, and enough of us that have real ongoing experiences and real evidence to show. They're beyond us, they're beyond our evolution from what I can see. We got a lot of catching up to do. That's the way I look at it. I've gone 2 years now, and I still haven't had a good visual. The owner's father, they've all had sightings here. I've had, nothing to date except a visual one time outside the window, sitting at the kitchen table with the owner. At one point, he was looking out into the forest through the window, and he questioned something, a large, tall, dark object beside the trees. And he's been coming here for decades, so for him to question something like that, question what he's looking at. It's, you know, something's up. And I had binoculars on me. I had a video camera. I had all my gear with me, and we didn't do anything. We didn't look through the binoculars, didn't take any photos, no video, and we actually even forgot about it. You know, that visit, it just brain fart, you know, just something happened there, and we completely forgot about it until the next visit. And then it came back to us, and it was like, what the hell happened there, kind of thing. I've had a few instances where I believe there's been some, the Sasquatch have you know, done something to your mind to, you know, distort something or make you forget or send you away. You know, I've had a few experiences with that in the 6 years I've been doing this. So I do believe they have that ability to affect your perception to whatever degree it is.
It just reminds us that this place seems to be, energetically speaking, some sort of vortex or some sort of
definitely
place where interdimensionals come and go.
This cloaking that I hear a lot of people talk about, well, I've never witnessed that. We have witnessed complete invisibility and activity inside the cottage, activity, you know, at my home, you know, a few hours away. And I don't think they're walking there because they're not using the door to go inside. The whole time, space factor doesn't seem to be an issue for them. It seems maybe they can be in multiple places at one time. I don't know. What I do know is they're much more than people think they are. You know, all these people that are running around the woods with guns trying to kill them, you know, it's wrong. It's just so wrong, because we are not dealing with an animal where you need a type specimen. These are people. And, you know, I just see that as plain murder, right? You know, we have no expectations. We're just enjoying every moment of it that we can, and you know, whatever happens, happens, kind of thing. As long as I'm able, as long as we're able to do this, you know, we will continue this. You know, I can't imagine my life without Sasquatch at this point, right?
That situation that I was involved in at a private property in Ontario, here in Ontario, Canada, there was some things going on there that I've recently been informed about, that I was kept in the dark about. It was done for the protection of certain individuals involved. That situation, I found out, was being surveilled from the first video. The guy that I was initially involved with for about 5 years, and I always knew something was off with him. You know, he had so many stories, I didn't know how to take him. You know, how far could that have gone? The point we were at was absolutely incredible. And because of your actions, it got destroyed. You know, they took pictures of the gift tree, so they were trespassing. I don't know how big the group was, but the technology that was being used, the red orb, was not something that was from another dimension, or it wasn't Sasquatch related. It was human technology, and it was advanced. And I'm speculating it was military, because it was far too advanced. And they were scanning the property. You know, they're trying to locate. So they have something to try and locate, although they didn't get what they were looking for. My agenda is humanity and the earth, not your dark agenda of manipulation, control, suppression, fear, negativity, all that crap. You can shove that you know where. That's not my game. I'm here for the good guy. The one thing these guys aren't aware of is the counter-surveillance of Sasquatch. And these guys don't have contact experience, so they have no idea the capabilities of Sasquatch and what they can do. It's, you know, they're telepathic. They can walk invisible. They can visit you in your homes. They can make contact in your dreams. They can leave a single footprint in snow without a track. You know, the Sasquatch consciousness, it's so wide open and expanded. Sometimes I use the analogy, you know, they say we use 10% of our brain. Well, I say Sasquatch use it all. And so as these people try and paint it all as a hoax, let them do what they want to do. And those who want to believe that, that's fine. You go right ahead. I don't want anything from you. I just want to open up your consciousness. That's all.
They have an understanding of the natural laws that govern us. They can manipulate those laws to their advantage. They can walk among us undetected, leave a single print in snow without a trackway. They're telepathic, with an ability to mind speak to those of us they choose to connect with. They can manipulate matter, making objects appear from thin air. They can speak from a disembodied voice, touch us physically unseen. They have the ability to visit us inside our homes and make contact in our subconscious dream state. These are all experiences that have been given to me personally, and I'm well aware of numerous others who have had similar experiences. Contact with the Sasquatch people will expand the consciousness of all who are privy to their ongoing contact. They will reveal the bigger unseen and unknown existence around us that lies literally within reach of all of us. Think about it. The implications of Sasquatch existence, a species of human-type beings, a highly intelligent species that defunks Darwinism, one that shakes the foundations of religious dogma and the manipulative tactics of those who use God as a source to condemn for their own self-interest, is absolutely massive. This truth throws our scientific paradigm into a whirlwind. Add the forest and mining industry, fracking, the destruction and poisoning of the land and water by those whose conscience lies dormant, their only vision, money and power. Corporate greed has no conscience, does not care about the destruction it leaves in its wake, nor does it care about the people's lives it destroys in doing so. Once the world awakens to the fact that we have a highly intelligent species of ancient human-type beings living among us, there is no more room for destruction. The destruction of our forests, their home, will need to stop immediately. Can't see it? It's clearly evident to anyone who is a free thinker. Those who do not succumb to the conditioning and brainwashing that has permeated our existence. For those of you who deny, fear, who negate the conspiracy claims, how long before you come to terms with your own denial? We all have that innate ability within our hearts to know truth, to know we are all being led to the slaughter. This has happened before, and it's happening again. Perpetuation of war, all in a guise to protect you. It's time to wake up.